So often when the topic of creating reality or creating an alternate reality comes up, images and associations of very esoteric or weird, metaphysical or new agey things often are the first things that pop into mind. So what we're going to do in this video is basically diffuse that and see how in reality it is actually doesn't have to be very esoteric or very weird at all. Because when we look at the usual kind of mainstream or normal approach to this kind of thing, it's kind of your standard generic new agey sort of belief that is we could label as the law of attraction, which comes down to visualize what you want, use positive affirmations, think positively, create a vision board, create your desire or dream list, ask, believe, receive, and it comes down to usually, just figure out what you want, figure out the kind of life you want, the kind of car you want to have, and the house you want to do, and all these sorts of things. What happens is most of the time people that follow this train of logic, follow this program, often meet frustration. Hence the massive growth of the industry. Because if it really worked and everyone just got in, did their thing and left, then how would the industry really grow and be like a multi-billion-dollar industry? Well, obviously it's contingent upon frustration and failure and always trying to create desire, which is really where all of this new agey connotation comes from. And what I mean by frustration, what I mean by failure is this. Basically what happens is you think about all these things you want, you create all these ideas in your head, and then you have to what? You have to interface with the real world. You sit there and you think, I am abundant, I have $1 million, and then you go out into the world and you realize, crap, I'm actually in debt, or actually I don't have as much money. And you meet this uncomfortable sensation, it doesn't feel good, and what happens? I'm frustrated. I wish I had all this money, but I don't. You feel frustrated. So that's really what we mean. And the frustration more comes out because we have all these things we're creating in our head, but we don't really have tools, or we don't really have a better process necessarily for interacting with the physical world, which is really what it comes down to. And really the things that create our reality are the decisions that we make. So if we want to create an alternate reality, perhaps we might need an alternate decision-making process. So that's really what it comes down to, is decisions. Interfacing with reality and really leaving the imaginary world. And obviously making decisions doesn't really have to be anything esoteric. It could be just be a different approach or a different process. It doesn't really sound that otherworldly or magical or mystical. It actually just sounds as simple as changing those things. So how we could do that is look at our usual approach versus our alternative approach. So the usual approach is making decisions out of a place that's based on I should do, I must do, I ought to do, or something I read, something I heard, something I was told, something I was taught, or in other words, some sort of mental construct. And if it's, say we have to get a job, or we have to take this job, or we're going to make a decision, often what holds people back is, what people think about me. What will they say? I have this idea about myself, and I just have to do this thing because this is the idea that I have. This is something I told, or this is something I've been told, something I've been taught, something I've been conditioned to, something I just feel like I should and I must and I have to do. But obviously there's a lot of discord because otherwise that conversation wouldn't be taking place. If there weren't discord, then there wouldn't be the back and forth. If there wasn't discord and disharmony and incongruence, then the issue wouldn't be an issue. It would just be a natural, easy thing done over with. Kind of like you don't really notice the functioning of your eyes and ears and your digestive system until it really starts to kind of go wrong. And then when it goes wrong, it becomes an issue. It becomes apparent. Same thing for decisions, because really these are all based on kind of mental constructs. So to create an alternative reality, how do we do that? Well, we have an alternative decision-making process. An alternative decision-making process might be something like, when it comes to making a decision, asking What is appropriate for my unique blueprint and design of who and what I really am? Could be as simple as that. We're on our usual approach is, oh, I have to, I must, I should, I've been told, I've been taught, I've been conditioned. That conversation. Or we can step back and find some way to get more present and ask, well, what is more appropriate for my unique design and blueprint of who and what I really am? Now that is a deeper question, that is a different question, that is an alternative question which comes from an alternative reality, which thereby can naturally create an alternative reality. Because Einstein said basically that you can't solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. So thereby we're trying to solve all these problems up here with this law of attraction stuff with basically the usual approach, which is the problem that created it, which inherently, how can it really work and how can it really create an alternative reality, because it is not in and of itself an alternative. So how we do that is fundamentally shift our decision-making process. Well, we ask alternative questions. Now obviously, is this easy? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Does it take dedication and focus? Yes. Does it take intelligence? Yes. Is it a process that will grow and unfold over time? Yes. Because often what will come up is congruence or not, harmony or not. Whereas we start making decisions and asking these questions and things become apparent to us. Because maybe all along we've been making decisions based on what we should and must and feel like we have to do out of guilt, blame, and shame. Well, we start making different decisions out of a different process. These kinds of things might start to become apparent, which can be comfortable, can be uncomfortable. Either way, if we're wanting to create an alternative reality, then it's probably going to take an alternative approach and an alternative decision-making process, because that is fundamentally where life happens. Do you want to go here? Do you want to go there? And if you're too busy saying, oh, well, hold on, I got to visualize it. Hold on, let me check my vision board. It's not going to work. You need to be able to say yes, no. And that is how we perhaps can create an alternative reality. Not that I'm saying there's no value or no place for any of those things, because perhaps there is. But what we want to understand is this bigger context of what we're talking about, and really understanding the importance of our decision-making process and the questions that we ask ourselves on a regular basis. Hopefully this video has been helpful, and I will talk to you soon.